In 1990, archaeologists arrived at historic St. Mary City to begin the physical reconstruction of a 1667 Catholic brick chapel. To map the ground, they performed a ground-penetrating radar survey. Expecting empty soil, the screen showed 3 massive rectangular blips beneath the floor. Excavation revealed they weren't standard wooden coffins. Buried 3 feet down were 3 perfectly preserved vaults made entirely of solid lead. In the 17th century, lead was a luxury material. Using it for a burial required immense wealth and represented the absolute peak of social status. These graves didn't just belong to random colonists. They were the final resting places of people central to the American story. The lead had created a perfect seal for 3 centuries, but that protection created a crisis for the team. Ancient silk can be preserved for centuries in a vacuum, but the moment it hits modern light and oxygen, it crumbles into dust in seconds. This was a historical paradox. To learn who was inside, they had to open the vaults, but opening them risked destroying the very evidence the team needed to see. Shovels and standard archaeological tools were too blunt for a task this sensitive. To look inside, the team had to treat the site like a high-tech crime scene. St. Mary City brought in a team of specialists rarely seen on a single dig, including NASA engineers, nuclear physicists, and atmospheric scientists. Nuclear physicists performed gamma-ray imaging on the vaults before they were even moved. This allowed the team to map the exact orientation of the human remains, so the next phase of the investigation wouldn't damage the bones. To prevent oxidation, the team pumped chilled argon gas into the coffins to displace oxygen, creating an inert environment. NASA then used ultrasonic probes to measure the lead's thickness and stability, ensuring the vaults wouldn't tear during extraction. These non-invasive steps ensured the heavy lead containers could be lifted and transported without compromising the 300-year-old environment sealed inside. A team from the Patuxent Naval Air Station used a specialized lifting apparatus to move the coffins into a controlled field laboratory for the final opening. Once the lead was exposed, the team decided to leave the exterior corrosion entirely intact. To a forensic scientist, this corrosion isn't damage, it's a record. The chemical patterns preserved in the lead oxide show the exact tools and methods used to manufacture the coffins in the 1600s. Inside the vaults, researchers cleaned fragile textiles and rosemary sprigs using stereo microscopes and tweezers. These organics were then freeze-dried to stabilize them for long-term study. This laboratory triage ensured every physical scrap was preserved, providing the necessary data for the final phase of the investigation, identifying the occupants. By combining the forensic evidence from the skeletons with historical records, researchers confirmed the remains belonged to Philip Calvert, an early Maryland governor, his wife Anne, and their infant son. Philip Calvert was the son of the first Lord Baltimore, the man who established the Maryland colony. As the governor, Philip managed this vast territory and held nearly total political authority over the region. Identifying these specific individuals connected the physical remains to the primary architects of the Maryland colony's earliest social and legal structures. The bones themselves offered a window into the reality of 17th century life. Studies of the skeletal remains revealed the chronic health conditions and daily physical hazards that even the most powerful colonists faced. These remains provide the physical context for the Calvert's most significant achievement, the establishment of Maryland as a haven for religious toleration. During a century defined by violent religious persecution in Europe, this colony was a rare location where Catholics, Anglicans, and Puritans worked together to build a civil society. By demonstrating that people of different faiths could coexist without violence, the St. Mary's City experiment provided the direct precedent for the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution 150 years later. In September 2025, 30 years after they were first discovered, the Calvert family and dozens of other early colonists were returned to the earth in a solemn reinterment ceremony. They were placed in a specially designed glass-covered vault beneath the floor of the now rebuilt 1667 brick chapel. This final resting place allows the public to view the site while maintaining the dignity of the remains after decades of intense scientific study. Modern science used every tool available to preserve these remains. ensuring the stories of the people who shaped America's earliest principles of freedom are not lost to the dirt.